The paramedics ignored her outdated protocol until the Navy medic recognized her unit insignia. The ambulance bay erupted in chaos. "Get those IVs in! Move!" Sarah Martinez stood frozen by the supply cart, watching the new paramedics rush past her. Again. "Martinez, we need actual help here, not supply duty." Jake sneered, shouldering past her. "This isn't the 1990s. She said nothing, just handed him the IV kit. 3 years ago, she'd been Chief Petty Officer Martinez, Head Trauma Specialist, Forward Operating Base Kandahar, 12 deployments, 247 saves. Now she stocked supplies. "Incoming GSW," the dispatch crackled. 22-year-old male, arterial bleed, blood pressure dropping. The patient crashed through the doors on a gurney. That's when she saw it. His shoulder, half visible under the blood-soaked field dressing. An anchor, an eagle. A trident, Navy SEAL insignia. His eyes found hers, struggling, fading. "You." He gasped. "You're Kandahar." His vitals plummeted. The new paramedics scrambled, uncertain, and Sarah Martinez's hands that hadn't moved with purpose in 3 years, began to remember. "Everyone, stop!" Her voice cut through the chaos. "Nobody touches him but me." The monitor flatlined. 3 seconds of silence, then pandemonium. Jake froze. His hands hovered over the crash cart. The other paramedics looked at each other, drowning in uncertainty. Sarah didn't ask permission. She moved. Her hands flew across the patient's chest, ripping open the field dressing, exposing the wound. The blood came fast, too fast. Femoral artery, severed clean, pressure here, direct, firm. She guided a paramedic's hands to the wound site. No hesitation, pure command. Jake stammered something about protocol. About waiting for the surgeon, about proper procedure. "He'll be dead in 90 seconds. Sarah's voice was ice, clinical, certain. She called for supplies, specific items, hemostatic gauze, pressure bandages, military terminology that sounded foreign in this civilian ER. The SEAL's eyes locked onto hers. Recognition cut through his pain. Trust replaced fear. He mouthed something through the oxygen mask. Riptide, her unit call sign, from Kandahar. From another lifetime. Sarah's hands moved, precise, calculated, perfect. 3 years of silence vanished. Her fingers remembered what her mind had tried to forget, the angle of pressure, the exact pounds per square inch needed to compress without crushing, the rhythm of emergency medicine practiced under mortar fire. "I need gauze, combat gauze." "Now," a nurse hesitated. "We don't have combat gauze. We have standard. It'll work. Move." The SEAL's blood pressure dropped. 80/40, then 70/30. "Stay with me." Sarah's voice was steady, commanding. "You stay with me, sailor. That's an order." His eyes flickered, found hers, held on. Jake tried again. "Martinez, we should wait for Dr. Chen. You're not authorized to. Watch me." Sarah's hands plunged into the wound. Her fingers found the artery, felt the tear, the life pumping out through a gap no wider than a grain of rice. She pressed. The blood flow slowed. The monitor beeped, weak, irregular, but there. Everyone in the ER stopped, stared. Sarah had her hands literally inside a man's thigh, manually compressing his femoral artery. Blood ran down her forearms, dripped onto the floor. Her face was calm, focused, alive in a way nobody had seen in 3 years. "How long can you hold that?" a resident asked. His voice was quiet, awed. "As long as it takes." The seconds stretched, 30, 60, 90. Sarah's arms began to burn. The position was awkward, unsustainable. But she didn't move, didn't shift, didn't ease the pressure even a fraction. The SEAL's voice came, weak, barely audible. "Forward operating base, Kandahar, IED convoy. You saved 16 of us." The doors burst open. Dr. Patricia Chen appeared, the head nurse. 20 years in emergency medicine. She took one look at the scene, the blood, Sarah's position, the SEAL insignia on the patient's shoulder. The pieces clicked. "You're operating." Dr. Chen's voice was flat. Statement, not question. "I'm stabilizing," Sarah corrected, still focused on the wound. "He needs surgery. 5 minutes ago." Jake found his voice. "She's not authorized to." "Shut up, Jake." Dr. Chen was already on the phone. "Surgical team, stat, tell them we have a severed femoral with active manual compression. They need to be ready to receive." Sarah felt the artery pulse under her fingers, felt the life she was holding inside this man's body, the responsibility, the weight, the fear she'd been hiding from for 3 years, but also the rightness. This was who she was, The SEAL spoke again. Fragments. But they painted a picture. Night operation, mass casualty. You were the only one who didn't give up. Sarah's throat tightened. Dr. Chen moved closer, watching Sarah's hands, watching her technique. Martinez, how long have you been working supply duty? 3 years, 2 months, 16 days, and before that, Navy. Combat trauma specialist. Dr. Chen's eyes narrowed. Kandahar? Sarah nodded. Once. The SEAL's voice grew stronger. Not much, but enough. 93%. Save rate. Highest in theater. They called you the miracle on Riptide. Sarah closed her eyes, breathed, opened them again. That was a long time ago. 3 years, the SEAL managed. But you don't forget that kind of skill. The surgical team arrived. 4 people in scrubs. The lead surgeon took one look at Sarah's position and stopped. Who did this compression? Dr. Chen gestured. Martinez. The surgeon moved closer, examined the wound around Sarah's hands. This is perfect placement. If you'd been 30 seconds slower, he'd be gone. Where'd you learn this, Kandahar? Sarah's voice was quiet. Under fire. When you don't have choices, you make saves. The surgeon's expression changed. Respect. Recognition. You're that Martinez, Riptide? Sarah didn't answer. The surgeon nodded. Okay, we're going to transfer compression on my count. 1, 2, 3. The transition was seamless. Sarah's hands came away. The surgical clamp went on. The bleeding stopped. The patient was lifted, moved toward the OR. Sarah stood there, blood drying on her forearms, on her scrubs, under her fingernails. The ER was silent. Dr. Chen approached. We need to talk, but first tell me, why supply duty? Why hide this? Sarah looked at her hands, steady now, but inside the trembling. Always the trembling, because 3 years ago I made a choice. A triage call. 11 people lived, 1 didn't. And I couldn't. I couldn't make that choice again. Who? A Marine? 20 years old, bleeding out while I worked on someone else. Someone I determined had a higher survival probability. I saved who I could save, but I can still hear him, calling for me, calling for his mom. Dr. Chen's face softened. Command cleared you? Statistics cleared me. Sarah's voice broke. Math cleared me, but I never cleared myself. The monitor beeped. Regular rhythm. The SEAL was stable. Moving to surgery. So you stopped, Dr. Chen said. I stopped choosing, Sarah corrected. I stayed close to medicine, but never close enough to lose anyone again. Until tonight. Sarah nodded. Until tonight. The moment hung between them. 3 years of silence. 1 moment of action. Everything changed. Then the dispatch radio exploded. Mass casualty incoming. Multi-vehicle accident. Highway 101. 8 critical. 7 minutes out. Dr. Chen's face went pale. 8 patients. Night shift. Half the surgical bays occupied. The ER wasn't ready. We need to triage. Dr. Chen's voice was tight. We need. She looked at Sarah. No. Sarah backed away. I can't. I don't. Martinez. Dr. Chen's voice was steel. You're the only person here who's done battlefield triage. We have 8 patients coming in 4 bays. You know what that means. Sarah knew exactly what it meant. Choose, prioritize, save who you can, accept who you can't. The thing that broke her. Jake stepped forward, recovering from his earlier humiliation. I can handle triage. I've been here 2 years. I know the protocols. You froze on 1 patient. Dr. Chen cut him off. Martinez, I'm not asking. 6 minutes, 8 patients, 4 treatment bays. Sarah's hands shook. She saw the young Marine, 19 years old, brown eyes, calling for his mother, dying while she saved someone else. But she also saw the SEAL on the gurney, alive, because she acted. I need, Sarah's voice cracked, I need my protocols, from Kandahar. Dr. Chen didn't hesitate. Whatever you need. Sarah closed her eyes. When they opened, something had shifted. The supply clerk was gone. Clear bays 2 and 4, fastest discharge protocols. Get me every paramedic, nurse, and resident in this building. Set up a staging area in the ambulance bay. Her voice carried command. Everyone moved. Jake stood there. You can't just... Jake. Sarah turned to him. Calm, clinical. You can help or you can leave. But if you stay, you follow my calls. No questions. No hesitation. People die when you hesitate. 5 minutes. Sarah moved to the ambulance bay. Staff assembled around her, confused, uncertain, but moving. Listen carefully. Sarah's voice cut through the murmurs. We have 8 critical incoming, 4 immediate treatment bays. This is battlefield triage. We prioritize based on survival probability and resource efficiency, not emotion, not fairness, math. A young nurse raised her hand. How do we decide? I decide, Sarah said. You execute. Questions? Silence. Good. When they arrive, nobody moves until I give the call. Nobody starts treatment until I assign priority. Is that clear? Nods. Uncertain. But there. 4 minutes. Sarah rolled up her sleeves, washed the SEAL's blood from her hands. Her mind was already calculating. 8 patients, 4 bays, 2 surgical teams, 6 nurses, 3 residents, resources versus needs, lives versus time, the math she'd spent 3 years running from. Dr. Chen appeared beside her. You sure about this? No, Sarah's voice was honest, but I'm the only one who can do it. 3 minutes. The sirens grew louder. Sarah's heart hammered, her hands wanted to shake, but she forced them steady, forced her breathing even, forced the fear down. She'd done this before, in Kandahar, under mortar fire, with half the supplies and twice the casualties. She could do this again. 2 minutes. The staff watched her, waiting, trusting, hoping. Sarah felt the weight of it, the responsibility, the impossible burden of being the one who chooses, but also the purpose. This was who she was. 1 minute. The ambulance lights appeared in the distance, growing closer, faster. Sarah stood at the center of the staging area, staff around her, ready. The doors burst open. First gurney crashed through, then second, then third. 8 patients, chaos, blood, screaming. Sarah's voice cut through everything. Listen to me. Nobody dies tonight. She moved. Patient 1, crush injury, stable vitals, conscious. Bay 4, patient 2, internal bleeding, decreasing pressure, priority alpha, or prep now. Patient 3, head trauma, decreased consciousness, CT immediate. The staff scrambled, moving gurneys, calling orders, following Sarah's commands without question. Patient 4, compound fracture, stable, holding area. Patient 5, chest trauma, possible pneumothorax. Bay 2, patient 6, abdominal injury, vitals holding, secondary priority. Patient 7, minor lacerations, discharge to urgent care. Patient 8, spinal precautions, radiology, 60 seconds, 8 assessments, 8 decisions. Sarah's mind worked like a machine, calculating, prioritizing, assigning resources to maximize survival probability. The ER transformed into controlled chaos, gurneys moving, staff executing, treatments beginning. Sarah was everywhere, checking assessments, correcting techniques, teaching on the fly. A resident struggled with a chest tube insertion. His hands shook. Sarah appeared beside him. Your hand goes here, angle 30 degrees. Feel the resistance? That's your landmark. She didn't take over. She guided, empowered. The resident found his confidence, completed the procedure. Sarah moved to the next crisis. An hour passed, brutal, exhausting, relentless. Sarah coordinated, commanded, carried the weight of 8 lives on her shoulders. Jake watched from the corner, sidelined, seeing Sarah operate like a surgical machine, precise, unfailing. Everything he'd dismissed as outdated suddenly revealed as essential. Then, patient 6 crashed, the one Sarah had sent to secondary priority. His vitals plummeted, blood pressure dropping, heart rate spiking. The second bay wasn't ready yet. Jake saw his moment. See, you made the wrong call. He's dying because you. Sarah was already moving. Crash cart, epi, chest compressions. Now, she worked on the patient herself. Hands on his chest, compressions, 30 per minute. Exact depth, exact rhythm, charged to 200. Clear. The patient's body arced, no response. Again, charged to 300. Clear. The monitor flatlined. Sarah didn't stop, wouldn't stop. She intubated, placed the tube in 8 seconds, began manual ventilation. Another shock, another compression cycle. 5 minutes of pure combat medicine. Sarah's face set, determined, refusing to lose him. The monitor beeped once, twice, regular rhythm, stabilized. Sarah stepped back, gasping, sweat-soaked, exhausted, but the patient was alive. The room was silent. Dr. Chen appeared. She'd been watching everything, from the triage to the crash to the save. All 8? Sarah nodded, couldn't speak yet. All 8 patients are stable or in surgery with positive prognosis. Dr. Chen's voice carried to everyone in the ER. 100% save rate. Martinez, that was. She didn't finish. Didn't need to. Jake stood there, watching. Something in him breaking. Maybe shame. Maybe realization. He approached Sarah. I need to, Sarah cut him off. Not angry, just tired. You need to understand something, Jake. This isn't about being right. It's about being ready. I wasn't ready for 3 years. Tonight, I had to be. She looked at him, really looked at him. You're a good paramedic. You know protocols, you follow rules, but there are moments when rules aren't enough, when you have to trust your training and make impossible calls. Tonight, you froze. That's okay. The first time I faced mass casualty, I froze too. But? Jake knew there was a but you can't freeze twice, not in this job. So you train, you prepare, and when the moment comes, you move. Sarah paused. I can teach you, if you want to learn. Jake nodded, humbled, transformed. I want to learn. Movement at the ER entrance. The SEAL appeared, post-surgery, bandaged, but conscious. A doctor supported him, protesting, but he waved them off. He locked eyes with Sarah. Chief, military address, respect. Heard what you did down here. Heard you saved 8 more. Sarah's throat tightened. Just doing the job. No. The SEAL crossed to her, slow but steady. You came back. That's not just doing the job. That's courage. He saluted. Full formal salute. Sarah hadn't been saluted in 3 years. Her hand rose automatically. Muscle memory, honor, recognition. She returned it. The ER staff watched in silence, witnessing something they didn't fully understand but recognized as profound. The SEAL lowered his hand. Welcome back, Chief. Sarah felt tears threaten, pushed them down, nodded once. The SEAL was escorted back to recovery. The ER slowly returned to normal rhythm. The crisis passed, lives saved. Sarah stood in the center of it all, blood-stained, exhausted, alive. Dr. Chen approached with a tablet. Martinez, we need to talk about your position here. Dr. Chen's office. Dawn light through the windows. Sarah sat in the same blood-stained scrubs. She hadn't left the hospital, hadn't stopped moving until every patient was stable, until every call was made, until the work was done. You've been working supply duty for 3 years. Dr. Chen slid a file across the desk. Your personnel file says you wanted to stay close to medicine, but couldn't handle patient care, that you needed time. Sarah nodded, waiting for the question, how much time do you need? Dr. Chen's voice was gentle. Because what I saw tonight wasn't someone who needs time. That was someone ready to lead. Sarah looked at her hands, still stained, still steady, but inside the trembling. Always the trembling. I don't know if I'm ready. You saved 9 lives tonight. Dr. Chen leaned forward. Made impossible calls, taught while operating, transformed this ER into a trauma center. That's not ready? I'm terrified, Sarah admitted. Every time I make a call, every time I choose, I see him. The Marine. I hear his voice. Dr. Chen was quiet for a moment. Then, can I tell you something? About fear? Sarah looked up. Fear means you understand the stakes. Dr. Chen's voice was firm. It means you respect the weight of these decisions. The people without fear, they're the ones who scare me, because they don't understand what they're holding when they hold a life. Sarah felt something shift. A tiny movement, like a door opening after years of being locked. We have a position. Dr. Chen continued. Trauma coordinator. You'd oversee emergency protocols, train staff, handle mass casualty coordination, develop new triage systems. You'd be making the calls again, but you wouldn't be alone. Sarah's chest tightened. The offer was everything, and everything terrified her. I'm not asking you to go back to war, Dr. Chen said softly. I'm asking you to be who you are, here, with us, teaching what you know, saving who you can save. The young Marine's voice echoed. But so did the SEALs, and the 8 patients from tonight, and the 247 saves from Kandahar. She'd spent 3 years remembering one loss. Maybe it was time to honor 247 victories. Can I? Sarah's voice caught. Can I think about it? Dr. Chen shook her head. No. Sarah's eyes snapped up. Because if you think about it, you'll find reasons to say no. Dr. Chen stood, extended her hand. You'll find excuses. You'll let the fear win. So I need your answer now. Are you Chief Petty Officer Martinez, or are you the supply clerk? Sarah looked at the hand, the offer, the chance. She thought of 3 years in silence, 3 years of safety, 3 years of surviving but not living. She thought of tonight, the fear, the action, the saves, the feeling of being whole again. She thought of the Marine and made a choice, not to forget him, but to honor him by being who he needed her to be, who all of them needed her to be. Her hand reached out, gripped Dr. Chen's. "I'm Chief Petty Officer Martinez." 6 months later, the ER had changed. New protocols on the walls, Martinez's method for mass casualty triage, detailed flowcharts, decision trees, training schedules posted weekly. The staff had changed too, more confident, more capable, better prepared. Sarah stood in the training room, 20 paramedics and nurses watching. Jake sat in the front row, taking notes, asking questions, learning. "Today we're covering battlefield triage principles in civilian settings." Sarah's voice was confident, clear, alive. "The core concept is resource optimization. You have limited time, limited equipment, limited personnel. Your job isn't to save everyone. Your job is to save the most." A hand went up. A young paramedic, new, uncertain. "How do you make that choice? Who lives and who waits?" Sarah paused. The question she'd been running from for 3 years. The question that broke her. You look at survival probability. You look at resource requirements. You look at time constraints. And you do the math. She met the young paramedic's eyes. "It's the hardest thing you'll ever do, but it's also the most important, because every choice you make is a life you're fighting for." "But what if you're wrong?" the paramedic asked. "What if you make the wrong call?" Sarah felt the weight of the question, the Marine's voice, the guilt, the 3 years of silence, but also the SEAL, the 8 patients, the saves. Then you learn. Sarah's voice was honest. You carry it, you let it make you better, but you don't let it stop you, because the next patient deserves your best, not your fear. The room was quiet, absorbing, understanding. Movement at the back of the room. The SEAL stood there, fully recovered, walking without support. He'd been coming to the hospital regularly, physical therapy, follow-ups, and to watch Sarah teach. He caught her eye, nodded. Sarah continued, "Remember, when the moment comes, you don't freeze. You move. You trust your training. And you save lives." The class ended. Students filed out. Jake lingered. "Chief," he'd started calling her that. Respect earned through transformation. "I wanted to thank you for teaching me, for not giving up on me." Sarah smiled. "You did the work, Jake. I just showed you the way." Still, he paused. "I was wrong about you, about your methods." "I'm sorry. Apology accepted," Sarah said. "Now go practice your compression techniques. I'm testing you next week." Jake grinned, left. Sarah gathered her materials, training manuals, case studies, protocols. The SEAL approached. "Hell of a class, Chief. Just doing the job. You keep saying that." The SEAL leaned against the desk. "But this is more than a job. You're building something, teaching people to be better, to save more." Sarah looked around the training room, the equipment, the diagrams, the proof that she'd come back. "I spent 3 years running from this," she said quietly. "From the responsibility, from the fear of making the wrong choice. And now I'm running toward it." Sarah met his eyes, because I realized something. That Marine I lost, he wouldn't want me to stop. He'd want me to use what I learned from losing him to save others, to be better, to teach others to be better. The SEAL nodded. "That's honor, Chief. Real honor." Sarah felt peace. Not complete, not perfect. The guilt would always be there. The memory, the voice, but also purpose and redemption. And the knowledge that she was doing what she was meant to do. Her office was next door. She'd moved in 3 months ago, still getting used to it. On her desk sat a plaque, Chief Trauma Coordinator, Sarah Martinez. Next to it, a photo, her old unit from Kandahar, 16 faces smiling, all alive because of her. She didn't run from it anymore. She honored it by being who they needed her to be. The hospital intercom crackled. "Trauma incoming, multiple vehicle accident, all available personnel to the ER." Sarah grabbed her tablet, checked the bay availability, staff assignments, resource allocation. She moved toward the ER, confident, ready, alive. Jake met her in the hallway, running, ready to assist. "How many?" Sarah asked. 5 critical, he reported. ETA 3 minutes. Sarah's mind calculated. 5 patients, 3 bays, 2 surgical teams available. The math, the choices, the responsibility she'd spent 3 years running from and 6 months running toward. Get everyone in position, Sarah commanded. Set up triage in the ambulance bay. I want assessments done before they hit the doors. On it, Chief. Sarah entered the ER. Staff looked to her, waiting for guidance, trusting her judgment, believing in her ability. She felt the weight, the fear, the possibility of loss, but also the certainty. The training. The purpose. The monitor beeped, steady rhythm, regular. Sarah took her position, ready to lead, ready to choose, ready to save. The ambulance lights appeared in the distance. She didn't freeze. She moved. Because that's what Chief Petty Officer Sarah Martinez did. She saved lives. And she taught others to do the same. The doors burst open. The gurneys crashed through. The chaos began. And Sarah Martinez, 3 years removed from silence, was exactly where she belonged. In the center of the storm. Making the impossible choices. Carrying the unbearable weight. Saving lives. One decision at a time. The Martinez method spread. 17 hospitals in 3 states implemented her protocols. Survival rates for mass casualty events improved by 23%. She trained every paramedic personally, remembered every name, carried every save and every loss. But she never stopped moving, never froze again, because she'd learned the most important lesson. Fear doesn't mean you're not ready. Fear means you understand what you're fighting for. And Chief Petty Officer Sarah Martinez understood perfectly. She was fighting for every voice that called out in the dark, every patient who needed someone to make the impossible choice, every life that deserved someone who wouldn't give up. She was fighting for them all, and she would never stop.